How do you stay calm when you fly across the country to see your son, and instead find your daughter-in-law in the ICU all by herself, while your son is driving around with other girls in the car you bought for him? What do you do when the only power you have left is your name on the title of that car and the number for the police? Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? 2 days after I reported my own gift as stolen, my son was on his knees in front of me, shaking, finally understanding what I had done and what I had already taken away. The plane touched down at 7 in the evening. I turned my phone off airplane mode and waited for the flood of messages I expected from Jace. Nothing came through. Just a notification from my bank about a bill payment and a weather alert. I texted him, "Landed, heading to you now." 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. The airport smelled like burnt coffee and recycled air. I walked past families hugging at the arrivals gate, couples holding flowers, drivers with signs. Nobody waited for me. That was fine. I had told Jace not to bother picking me up. I knew he was busy, or so I thought. I caught a cab to the hospital. The neighbor who called me 2 days ago, Iris, I think her name was, had mentioned that Nola was at St. Catherine Regional. She said it gently, like she was breaking news about a car accident. "Your son's wife is very sick, Mr. Deron. I thought you should know. Nobody else seemed to be calling you." The cabbie dropped me at the main entrance. Inside, the triage clerk looked up from her computer, tired and professional. "Name?" "Bek Deron. I'm here to see Nola Deron. She's in the ICU." The clerk typed, frowned, typed again. "Are you the father who hasn't been in yet?" The words landed like a small stone in my chest. "I'm her father-in-law. I just flew in." "Oh." Her expression softened. "Room 407, 4th floor. Elevators are on your left." I rode the elevator alone, watching the numbers climb. When the doors opened, the ICU hallway stretched out in front of me, pale green walls and fluorescent lights humming overhead. A nurse's station sat at the center, 2 women in scrubs talking quietly. One looked up as I approached. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Nola Deron, room 407? The nurse, her badge said Lila Hart, smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Down the hall, 3rd door on the right. Are you family?" "Her father-in-law." "Is her husband with you?" I hesitated. "He's on his way." She nodded slowly, like she had heard that before. "Okay, let me know if you need anything." Room 407 was dim, the only light coming from monitors that beeped in steady rhythm. Nola lay in the bed, her face pale against the white pillow, tubes running from her arms and chest. I had seen her 6 months ago at Christmas, laughing and handing out gifts. Now she looked like a photograph of herself, faded and still. I pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. Her phone rested on the bedside table, screen dark. No flowers, no cards, no sign that anyone had been here at all. "Nola," I whispered. "It's Bek. I'm here." She didn't move. The machines kept their rhythm, counting out seconds that felt too long. A doctor appeared in the doorway, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and tired shoulders. Her badge read Dr. Marinkovich. "Mr. Deron?" I stood. "Yes. I'm glad someone is here." She stepped inside and closed the door halfway. "Nola's condition is serious. We've been trying to reach her husband for 2 days, but he hasn't returned our calls. Do you know where he is?" I felt my throat tighten. I'm not sure. I just arrived." Dr. Kovich looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "We may need to make some decisions soon about her care. It would help if the immediate family were present." "I'll find him," I said, though I wasn't sure how. The doctor left. I stood there, staring at Nola's still face, and finally pulled out my phone. I opened Jace's social media. His latest story had been posted an hour ago. The video started with a shaky view of a dashboard, speedometer climbing past 80. Music blared in the background. A girl's voice laughed high and loud. "Faster, Jace! Come on!" The camera flipped to show my son's face, grinning, his hand on the wheel. "Freedom, baby! No rules, no drama, just us!" Another voice, another girl. "Is this your car?" "Gifted by the old man," Jace said, laughing. "Only good thing he ever did." The camera swung to show two girls in the back seat, both strangers to me, both laughing. Then it panned to the window, and I saw the highway sign. Route 44 West. The same route that runs past this hospital. He was here, in this city, driving around while his wife lay unconscious 10 minutes away. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I stared at it, then at the video still frozen on my screen, Jace's face, mid-laugh. I didn't answer the call. I just kept staring. I sat in the hospital cafeteria at midnight, alone. The coffee in front of me had gone cold 20 minutes ago, but I hadn't touched it anyway. Around me, other families clustered at tables, speaking in low voices, holding hands, looking exhausted but together. I was the only one sitting by myself. My mind kept cycling back through the years, trying to pinpoint where I lost my son, or maybe where he decided he didn't need me anymore. I remembered the energy company control room where I spent 30 years of my life. Rows of monitors tracking power grids across 3 states, alarms that could sound at 3 in the morning, co-workers who trusted me to keep their lights on when storms took down half the network. I had been good at that job, calm under pressure, analytical. I never panicked, never guessed. I read the data and made the call. My supervisor once told me, "Bek, you're the guy we want in the room when everything goes wrong." I had smiled at that. It felt good to be needed. But at home, Jace made it clear I wasn't that guy. I was just the wallet, the backup plan, the old-fashioned dad who didn't understand how the world worked now. The cafeteria felt colder than it should have. I watched a young couple across the room share a sandwich, taking turns eating while one of them stayed awake. They looked like they hadn't slept in days, but they were there. Together. That's what family was supposed to look like. I thought about all the times Jace called me only when he needed something. Money for rent, help with a security deposit, a loan for this or that emergency that always seemed to happen at the worst time. And I gave it to him, every single time, because that's what fathers do, or so I thought. I remembered the car dealership. 2 years ago, Jace had called me, desperate. "Dad, I need a car. My job is 20 miles away and I can't keep borrowing from friends. Please." I flew out to see him. We sat in the dealership office and the salesman pulled up options. Jace wanted something flashy, something that looked expensive. I chose something reliable and put my name on the title and the loan. The insurance went under my policy too, because Jace had 3 speeding tickets in 2 years and his rates would have been impossible. "Why does it have to be in your name?" Jace complained as I signed the paperwork. "It makes me look like a child." "Because I'm paying for it," I said calmly. "And because if something happens, I need to be able to handle it." He took the keys anyway. He posted photos of the car online within an hour, captioned, "New ride, new life." He never said thank you. I stirred the cold coffee, watching the liquid swirl in the cup. The fluorescent lights above hummed steadily, the same kind of lights I used to work under in the control room. Back then, I understood the systems. I knew how to fix problems, how to prevent failures. But with Jace, I had no manual, no diagnostic tools, no clear solution. A week after the dealership visit, I sent him an email. I kept it short and clear like a work memo. "Jace, I'll cover the loan and insurance as long as you keep your job, drive responsibly, and treat Nola with respect. If any of those change, we'll need to talk." "Dad." He never replied, not even to say he read it. Over the next 2 years, our phone calls became shorter, colder. He'd complain that I was acting like a supervisor, that I treated him like an employee instead of a son. "You don't get it, Dad. I'm not one of your engineers. I don't need a lecture from a guy who still uses paper bills." I stopped calling as much. He stopped answering. The cafeteria door opened, and a nurse walked in, grabbed a bottle of water from the vending machine, and left without looking at anyone. I watched her go and felt the silence settle back over the room. Now, sitting in this cafeteria, I realized that Jace had rewritten our story in his head. To him, I was the controlling father who couldn't let go. To his friends, I was the punchline, the old man who gave him a car and then tried to micromanage his life. He never mentioned that I paid for everything, that I showed up when he needed help, that I answered every call, even the ones at 2 a.m. when he locked himself out of his apartment or needed someone to co-sign a lease because his credit wasn't good enough. He never mentioned the birthday cards I sent that went unacknowledged, or the messages I left that were never returned. He never told anyone that the last 3 times I visited, he canceled our plans at the last minute because something more important came up. I thought about Nola, lying upstairs in that bed, alone. I thought about the video of Jace laughing in the car I bought, surrounded by strangers while his wife fought for her life. And I thought about the email I sent 2 years ago, the one with the conditions, the one he ignored. I pushed the coffee cup away and stood up. My legs felt stiff from sitting too long. I walked to the window and looked out at the parking lot. Cars came and went. Families arrived and left. Life continued for everyone else. Dr. Kovich appeared in the cafeteria doorway, scanning the room. Her eyes landed on me. She walked over. "Mr. Deron, do you have a moment?" "Of course." She sat down across from where I had been sitting. I returned to my chair. "I wanted to let you know that we've tried to reach Jace again for a consultation about Nola's care. He didn't answer. If he continues to miss these discussions, we'll need to document the absences. It could matter later, for decision-making purposes." I nodded slowly. "What does that mean?" "It means that hospitals pay attention to who shows up and who doesn't. If a spouse is consistently absent and another family member is consistently present, that gets noted in the chart." She didn't say it directly, but I understood. If Jace kept ignoring his wife, someone else might be asked to make decisions for her. Someone like me. "Thank you for telling me," I said. She stood to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, Mr. Deron, I'm glad you're here. Nola shouldn't be alone." After she left, I sat there for a few more minutes. The couple across the room had finished their sandwich and were leaning against each other, eyes closed, stealing a few moments of rest. I wondered if Jace had ever sat with Nola like that, if he had ever sacrificed sleep or comfort just to be near her. I walked back toward the ICU. A nurse at the station, Lila, the one from earlier, waved me over. "Mr. Deron, we tried to reach Nola's husband for a consent discussion about a procedure tomorrow morning. He didn't answer. Would you be willing to list your contact as the main emergency number? Just for now?" I felt something shift inside me, a small crack in the wall I'd been holding up. "Yes," I said. "I'll do that." She handed me a form. I filled it out and gave it back. As I walked back to the ICU waiting room, my phone buzzed with a notification. Another story from Jace. This time, the video showed the car parked outside a brightly lit club, music thumping in the background. A girl posed against the hood, laughing. The caption read, "Living my best life. No time for crying women and hospital drama." I sat down in the waiting room and stared at my phone for a long time. Then I opened my email and found the old car documents. Title, loan agreement, insurance confirmation. All of them had my name on every line. I didn't close the files. I just stared at them, feeling something cold and clear settle into my chest. Not rage, not even hurt anymore. Just a decision. My son had made his choice. Now it was time to make mine. The ICU family waiting room was nearly empty at 2 in the morning, just me and an older couple across the space, speaking quietly in Spanish. They took turns going back to see their son, making sure he was never alone. One would sit for an hour, then come out and tag the other in. They moved like a relay team, smooth and practiced. I watched them and thought about Nola's empty visitor chair. I pulled out my phone again and scrolled through Jace's stories one more time. I needed to be sure. I needed to know this wasn't some misunderstanding, some bad timing. The first video, Jace at the wheel, speeding down the highway, girls laughing in the back. The speedometer read 83. The second video, the car parked outside the club, the girl posing on the hood, Jace's voice off camera saying something I couldn't quite hear, but the laughter that followed was clear enough. The third video, a close-up of a girl in the passenger seat, young and pretty, holding up her phone. "Say hi to Jace's fans," she said, giggling. The camera swung to Jace. "What's up, people? Out here living free. No chains, no complaints." The girl leaned closer. "Is your dad still mad about the car?" Jace grinned. "That's the beauty of it. It's a gift from my dumb old man who never says no. He thinks he owns me because his name is on some paper. But who's driving it? Who's having fun? Not him." The girl laughed. "So basically, he just gave you a free car and you don't even have to thank him?" "Exactly." The video ended. I replayed it. Then I replayed it again. In the background of the third video, I could see a highway sign through the windshield. Route 44 West. The same sign I'd seen on my way to the hospital. And in the far distance, lit up against the night sky, the glowing letters of St. Catherine Regional. He was close. Close enough to visit. Close enough to walk through those automatic doors and sit beside his wife for 5 minutes. But he didn't. I stood up and walked to the vending machines, not because I was hungry, but because I needed to move. I fed coins into the slot and watched a bag of pretzels drop into the tray. I didn't open it. When I got back to the waiting room, a woman in a hospital badge was standing by the chairs. Her badge read, Nora Keene, social worker. "Mr. Deron?" I nodded. "Do you have a few minutes? I'd like to talk with you about Nola's situation." We walked to a small office down the hall. Nora closed the door and gestured for me to sit. Her desk was covered in folders and post-it notes, but her expression was calm and professional. "I've been reviewing Nola's case," she said, "and I wanted to explain some things about hospital policy, especially regarding family involvement in decision-making." "Okay." When a patient is in critical condition and unable to make their own decisions, we look at who is present and engaged. Legally, a spouse is usually the primary decision-maker. But if that spouse is consistently absent or unreachable, and if there is documented neglect, the hospital can consider other options. I leaned forward. "What does that mean?" "It means that if we can't reach Jace, and if another family member, like you, has been consistently present and responsive, we can document that. In some cases, patients also complete advance directives that name alternate decision-makers." She opened a folder and slid a piece of paper toward me. It was a form, dated 6 months ago, with Nola's signature at the bottom. "This is from Nola's last visit to her primary care doctor," Nora said. She filled out an advance directive. Under the section labeled Alternate Decision Maker, she listed you. She wrote, "Bek Deron, the one who always answers." I stared at the paper. Nola's handwriting was small and neat. My name was underlined twice. "She listed me?" "Yes." She also noted that if her husband became unreliable or unreachable, you should be contacted first. I didn't know what to say. My throat felt tight. Nora continued. "Over the past 2 days, staff have tried to reach Jace more than a dozen times. Calls, texts, messages through neighbors. No response. But every time we called you, you answered immediately. That's why your contact information is now listed as Primary Reachable Family in her chart." I looked down at the form again. Nola's signature. My name. "What happens now?" I asked. Now, we wait. If Jace shows up and engages, the situation may change. But if he continues to be absent, and if decisions need to be made, your voice will carry weight. Especially with this directive. I nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me. Nora handed me a copy of the form. Keep this. You may need it. I walked back to my hotel room just after 3 in the morning. It was a budget place across the street from the hospital, the kind with thin walls and a vending machine in the hallway. I unlocked the door and dropped my bag on the bed. Then I sat down at the small desk and opened my laptop. I found the email I sent Jace 2 years ago, the one about the car. I saved a copy to a new folder on my desktop. Then I found the car loan documents, the registration confirmation, and the insurance records. I saved those too. I opened a new email and attached all of the files. I sent it to myself, to my work email, and to Owen Park, an old acquaintance from my energy company days, who now worked in legal consulting. Owen replied within 10 minutes. Got it. Call me in the morning. I stared at the folder on my desktop. Then I renamed it. Car. Title, Insurance. I opened Jace's social media one more time. A new story had been posted an hour ago. The car was parked at a gas station, engine running. Jace was filling the tank, grinning at the camera. Road trip continues. No limits, no lectures. I looked at the photo for a long time. Then I scrolled down to my phone's contact list and found the non-emergency police number. I didn't call. Not yet. I just stared at the number, my thumb hovering over the screen, while the video of Jace mocking me played on mute in the background. The hospital's name glowed in the distance of that video, barely visible, but undeniably there. He was close. And he still didn't care. I met Owen Park at a coffee shop across the street from the hospital the next morning. He looked the same as I remembered, sharp suit, reading glasses perched on his nose, a leather briefcase that had probably cost more than my plane ticket. Bek, he said, shaking my hand. It's been a while. Thanks for meeting me. We ordered coffee and sat at a corner table. Owen opened his laptop and pulled up the files I'd sent him. I reviewed everything, he said. Car title, loan agreement, insurance, the email you sent Jace about the conditions. It's all very clear. You're the legal owner. You pay the loan, you pay the insurance. The car is registered in your name. So, legally, it's mine. Completely. Jace has permission to use it, but that permission can be revoked at any time, especially if he violates the conditions you outlined in your email. I nodded. What happens if I revoke that permission and he keeps driving it? Owen leaned back in his chair. Then it becomes unauthorized use of a vehicle. Depending on the circumstances, it could be treated as a stolen vehicle, especially if you have documentation showing that you clearly revoked permission and he ignored it. Would the police take that seriously? If you present it right, yes. You're the title holder. You're the payer. You have written proof of the original agreement and evidence that the driver is violating that agreement. That's not a gray area, Bek. That's black and white. I sipped my coffee. It was too hot, but I didn't care. There's something else, Owen said. If Jace causes an accident while driving that car, especially if he's under the influence or driving recklessly, you could be held liable as the owner. Your insurance would be on the hook. If someone gets hurt or worse, you could be facing lawsuits. The weight of that settled over me. So I'm responsible for whatever he does in that car, I said. Unless you clearly revoke his permission to use it and document that revocation, then the liability shifts. Owen closed his laptop. Here's what I recommend. Document everything. Save every video he posts. Log every call the hospital makes that he ignores. Screenshot the social media posts where he mocks you or shows risky behavior. Back everything up. Email it to yourself, to me, to someone you trust. I already started. Good. Then you need to decide what you're willing to do. If you want to revoke his access to the car, you'll need to formally notify him, and if necessary, report it to the police. But Bek, once you do that, there's no going back. Your relationship with your son will change permanently. I looked out the window at the hospital across the street. I think it already has. Owen nodded. Then you need to protect yourself. And Nola. After Owen left, I went to the police station. It was a low brick building a few blocks from the hospital, quiet and institutional. Inside, a desk officer looked up from his computer. Can I help you? I'd like to speak with someone about a vehicle issue. He directed me to a small interview room. A few minutes later, a uniformed officer walked in. His badge read, Trent Alvarez. He was in his late 30s, calm and professional. Mr. Deron, I'm Officer Alvarez. What can I do for you? I have a question. Hypothetically, if I own a car and I let someone use it with certain conditions, and they violate those conditions, what happens if I revoke permission and they keep driving it? Alvarez pulled out a notepad. Hypothetically? For now. He nodded. If you're the legal owner and you revoke permission, then the driver no longer has legal authority to use the vehicle. If they continue to drive it, that's unauthorized use. Depending on the situation, it can be treated as theft. Even if it was a gift? If your name is on the title and you're paying for it, it's not really a gift in the legal sense. It's your property. You can revoke access at any time. I thought about that. What if the driver is family? Doesn't matter. The law cares about ownership, not relationships. I gave him the basic details: make, model, license plate. I told him I was considering filing a report, but wanted to understand the process first. Alvarez took neat notes. If you decide to move forward, come back and we'll file it officially. Just bring your documentation, title, insurance, anything showing ownership. Thank you. I walked back to the hotel as the sun set behind the buildings. Inside my room, I opened my laptop and checked Jace's social media again. A new story. The car was parked outside a club, music thumping in the background. Two girls leaned against the hood, posing for the camera. Jace's voice came from off-screen. Best car ever, best life ever, no rules. One of the girls giggled. Is this really yours? Technically, it's my dad's, but he'll never take it back. He doesn't have the guts. I replayed the video 3 times. Then I checked my email. A message from the hospital. Subject line, family conference scheduled, ICU patient Nola Deron. I opened it. Dear family members, a family conference has been scheduled for 10 a.m. in 2 days in the ICU conference room. This meeting will cover Nola Deron's prognosis, long-term care options, and decisions regarding medical decision-making authority. Attendance is required for all available family members. I sat back in the chair and stared at the screen. 2 days. I looked at Jace's story again. The video showed a beer can in the cup holder. The timestamp said it was posted 20 minutes ago. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Officer Alvarez's card. I didn't call. Not yet. But I saved the number, and I watched the video one more time. The car engine revved. The girls laughed. Jace said something I couldn't hear. And in the background, just visible through the windshield, the hospital's sign glowed in the distance. I woke up early the next morning and sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at a photo on my phone. It was from Christmas, 6 months ago. Nola and I standing in front of the tree, her arm around my shoulders, both of us smiling. Jace had taken the picture, complaining the whole time that we were taking too long. I remembered Nola whispering to me that day, "Thank you for being here, Bek. It means more than you know." I had thought she was just being polite. Now I understood. I set the photo down and made the call. The phone rang twice before Officer Alvarez answered. Alvarez. Officer, this is Bek Deron. We spoke yesterday about the vehicle situation. I remember. Are you ready to file the report? Yes. Come to the station. Bring your documentation. An hour later, I sat across from Alvarez in the same small interview room. I laid out everything on the table. The car title with my name, the loan documents showing I was the payer, the insurance confirmation under my policy, The email I sent Jace 2 years ago outlining the conditions. Screenshots of his social media posts showing him driving recklessly, mocking me, and admitting he ignored the agreement. Alvarez reviewed each document carefully. This is very thorough. I'm an engineer. I document everything. He almost smiled. That helps. Walk me through what happened. I explained it step by step. I bought the car. I put it in my name because of Jace's driving record. I set clear conditions. He agreed, then ignored them. Now he's using the car to drive recklessly while his wife is in the ICU, and I'm concerned about liability. And you want to revoke his permission to use the vehicle? Yes. Have you told him that? Not yet. I wanted to file the report first. Alvarez nodded. Smart. Once this report is filed, if he's stopped in that vehicle, officers will know it's been reported as unauthorized use. Given your documentation and his behavior, this will be treated seriously. He typed on his computer for several minutes, then printed a form and slid it across the table. Sign here. I read it carefully. It was a formal report stating that I, Bek Deron, legal owner of the vehicle, hereby revoked permission for Jace Deron to operate said vehicle, and that continued use would be considered unauthorized and potentially criminal. I signed. Alvarez filed the report and gave me a copy. If he's stopped driving it, officers will be notified. Depending on the circumstances, he could be arrested. Thank you. I left the station and walked to the coffee shop. My phone rang. Owen. Bek, it's me. I've started preparing some documents for you. What kind of documents? Updates to your estate, clarifications about asset ownership, limits on future financial support for Jace. I'm also drafting notes about his absence during Nola's crisis. If this ever becomes a legal issue, custody, inheritance, liability, you'll want a paper trail showing that you acted responsibly and he didn't. You think it'll come to that? I think it's better to be prepared. And Bek, there's something else. If Jace has been neglecting Nola this badly, and if the hospital has documented it, that could affect a lot of things down the line. Custody of future children, division of assets if they separate, even criminal charges depending on the circumstances. I hadn't thought about any of that. What do I need to do? Just keep doing what you're doing. Show up, be present, let the hospital document everything, and when the time comes, make sure the facts are on the table. We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. I spent the rest of the day at the hospital. I sat beside Nola's bed, watching the monitors, talking to her even though she couldn't hear me. I told her about the flight, about the coffee shop, about the weather back home. I told her I was sorry for everything. Nurse Lila stopped by in the afternoon. Mr. Deron, you've been here all day. Have you eaten? I'm fine. You need to take care of yourself too. She brought me a sandwich from the cafeteria. I ate it in Nola's room, not wanting to leave her alone. Later, Nora Keene, the social worker, found me in the hallway outside the ICU. Mr. Deron, I wanted to update you on the family conference. What about it? It's scheduled for tomorrow morning at 10. Dr. Kovich will be there, along with myself and a representative from the hospital's patient advocacy team. We'll be discussing Nola's prognosis and the decision-making structure going forward. Will Jace be there? Nora hesitated. We've notified him. Whether he shows up is another question. And if he doesn't? Then the conference will proceed without him. The hospital has documented his absence extensively. That will be part of the discussion. I nodded. Thank you for letting me know. That night, back in my hotel room, I tried to sleep, but couldn't. I kept thinking about the conference, about what would happen when Jace finally realized what I'd done. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. I answered. Mr. Deron, this is Detective Colin Harrow with the Auto Crimes Unit. I'm calling about the vehicle report you filed earlier today. My heart rate picked up. Yes? We've located the vehicle. It was stopped at a traffic checkpoint about an hour ago. The driver matches the description you provided. Jace Deron, your son. He's currently being processed. Processed? He's been arrested for unauthorized use of a vehicle. He'll be held overnight and released tomorrow morning after processing. You'll need to come to the station to confirm ownership and retrieve the vehicle. I sat down on the edge of the bed. He was arrested. Yes, sir. Given your documentation and the circumstances, this was treated as a clear case of unauthorized use. He'll also be facing charges related to open containers in the vehicle and reckless driving. What happens now? He'll be released tomorrow on his own recognizance. There will be a court date set for the charges. As for the vehicle, it's been impounded. You can retrieve it once you provide proof of ownership, which you've already done. Thank you, Detective. One more thing, Mr. Deron. Your son mentioned that this was all a misunderstanding, that you gave him the car as a gift. I reviewed your documentation. That's not what the records show. No, it's not. Then you did the right thing. If you have any questions, call me directly. He gave me his number and hung up. I sat in the dark hotel room staring at my phone. Jace had been arrested. He was in a cell somewhere right now, probably confused, probably angry. Tomorrow he would be released, and tomorrow he would be at the hospital for the conference. I looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. In 10 hours, everything would come out. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the chair by the window, watching the hospital across the street, waiting for the morning. The hospital conference room was small and sterile, with a long table and too many chairs. I arrived 10 minutes early. Dr. Kovich was already there, reviewing notes on a tablet. Nora Keene sat beside her, organizing a thick folder. A third person, a man in his 40s with a detective's badge clipped to his belt, stood by the window. Detective Harrow. He turned when I walked in. Mr. Deron, we spoke on the phone last night. Yes. I'm here as a follow-up on the vehicle case. Given the circumstances, the hospital asked me to attend this meeting to clarify the legal aspects. I nodded and sat down at the table. A moment later, the door opened. Jace walked in. He looked smaller than I remembered. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair uncombed, his wrists bore faint red marks where the handcuffs had been. He saw me and stopped. Dad. I didn't say anything. He sat down at the far end of the table, as far from me as possible. His jaw was tight, his hands balled into fists. Dr. Kovich closed the door and began. Thank you all for coming. This meeting is to discuss Nola Deron's care, her prognosis, and the decision-making structure moving forward. Let's start with her medical status. She explained that Nola's condition had stabilized slightly, but she would need long-term care, possibly months of recovery. Decisions would need to be made about treatment options, rehabilitation, and who would be responsible for those decisions. Typically, a spouse is the primary decision-maker, Dr. Kovich said. However, in this case, there are complicating factors. She looked at Jace. Mr. Deron, over the past 4 days, hospital staff made 17 attempts to contact you regarding your wife's condition. You did not respond to any of those calls or messages. In that same time, your father attended every consultation, stayed at the hospital around the clock, and listed himself as the primary emergency contact. Jace shifted in his chair. I was dealing with things. What things? Dr. Kovich's voice was calm but firm. Personal stuff. I needed space. While your wife was in the ICU. Jace didn't answer. Nora opened her folder. I'd like to address the documented history. Over the past 6 months, Nola made several notes in her medical file about concerns regarding her husband's reliability. She completed an advance directive naming Bek Deron as her alternate decision-maker, specifically noting that he always answers. Hospital visitation logs show that in the past 4 days, Bek has been present for over 40 hours. Jace has been present for 0. Jace's face went red. That's not fair. I had things to deal with. Like driving around in your father's car? Detective Harrow's voice cut through the room. Jace turned to him. Who are you? Detective Colin Harrow. I'm here regarding the vehicle theft case filed by your father 2 days ago. Jace's eyes went wide. He looked at me. You did what? I met his gaze but said nothing. Harrow pulled out a folder and laid it on the table. Let me summarize. Your father, Bek Deron, is the legal owner of the vehicle in question. The title is in his name. The loan is in his name. The insurance is under his policy. 2 years ago, he allowed you to use the car under specific conditions, outlined in a written agreement. You violated those conditions repeatedly. He slid a printout across the table. 4 days ago, while your wife was in the ICU, you were stopped at a traffic checkpoint driving that vehicle with open containers, with passengers, and at excessive speed. Your father had already filed a report revoking your permission to use the car. That makes your continued use unauthorized. Jace stared at the printout. This is insane. He gave me the car. It's mine. No, Harrow said. It's his. You were arrested for unauthorized use. The charges also include reckless driving and open container violations. You were released this morning pending a court date. Jace slammed his hand on the table. He set me up. He's trying to control me. Actually, Harrow said, he protected himself. If you had caused an accident while driving that car, he would have been liable. By revoking your access and documenting your behavior, he shifted that liability back to you. I watched Jace's face as the words sank in. He looked at me, then at the detective, then at Dr. Kovich. This isn't fair. No, I said quietly. It's not. Everyone turned to me. It's not fair that Nola is in that bed alone, I continued. It's not fair that I had to fly across the country to sit with her because you were too busy driving around with strangers. It's not fair that she named me as her decision-maker because she couldn't trust you. Jace's mouth opened, but no words came out. Nora spoke next. Based on the documented evidence, hospital logs, advance directives, and the pattern of presence, the hospital's recommendation is that Bek Deron be recognized as the primary decision-maker for Nola's care moving forward. What? Jace stood up. No, I'm her husband. You're also absent, Nora said, and the patient specifically named someone else. Dr. Kovich nodded. The hospital will honor Nola's directive. Bek will have final say on treatment decisions, visitation policies, and care planning. Jace looked at me, his face a mix of anger and desperation. Dad, please. You can't do this. A phone rang. Owen Park's voice came through the speakerphone on the table. Bek, it's Owen. I'm joining remotely as requested. I nodded. Go ahead. Owen's voice was calm and professional. I've prepared updated documents for Bek's estate and financial planning. Effective immediately, any future financial support for Jace Deron will be restructured. No direct transfers, no open-ended gifts. Any assistance will be routed through designated channels to ensure it's used appropriately, primarily for Nola's care if needed. Jace's face went pale. What does that mean? It means, Owen said, that your father is no longer your backup wallet. If you need help, you'll have to demonstrate responsibility first, and any funds will go toward necessities, not parties or cars. Jace turned to me. You're cutting me off? I'm protecting what's mine, I said, and making sure Nola is taken care of. Dr. Kovich stood. This meeting is concluded. Bek, you'll be contacted for any decisions regarding Nola's treatment. Jace, you're welcome to visit your wife during standard hours, but any disruptive behavior will result in restricted access. Detective Harrow handed Jace a card. You have a court date in 3 weeks. Don't miss it. And Mr. Deron, the vehicle is available for pickup at the impound lot. The room began to empty. Dr. Kovich and Nora left first, then Detective Harrow. Owen disconnected the call. It was just me and Jace. He stood there, staring at me, his fists clenched. Then slowly, his knees buckled. He dropped to the floor in front of me, hands on the carpet, shaking. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I messed up. I know I did. Just give me another chance. Give me the car back. Help me, please. I looked down at him, my son on his knees, begging. I felt nothing but calm. No, I said. I stepped past him and walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard him start to cry. Detective Harrow appeared in the hallway, waiting to escort Jace out for the final paperwork. I turned back one last time. Jace was still on the floor, his face in his hands. "You had every chance," I said. "You just never thought I'd take back what was mine." I walked down the hallway, past the nurse's station, past the waiting room, straight to Nola's room. I opened the door and stepped inside. She was still there, still breathing, still fighting. I pulled the chair close to her bed and sat down. Behind me, the conference room door clicked shut with a soft, final sound.